how important is that to him, being able to kind of fulfill what his father was doing?
I think in many ways the kids in the town are all reflections of their parents, and are kind of these ghost-like images of their parents. And yeah, and even when we start to learn the parents' story in season 1, we see that someone like FP was forced or made some mistakes that Jughead is either stumbling into blindly or trying to acknowledge. And I think for Jughead has a tremendous yearning for the approval of his father, who was probably not there too much when he was a kid. He's a kid whose mom is not around. He's a kid that takes his childhood friendships super, super seriously, and it's all about the kind of purity and moral rightness of whatever person is making the bad decisions that they're making. And I think he sees the potential for greatness in his father, and he sees the potential for greatness in himself, and he's slowly but surely realizing that there are a lot of different shades to good and bad, and that his father is definitely sitting right around the middle of that, and what that might mean for Jughead. In that way, we have Luke Perry's character, who's very morally righteous. And Archie is a specter of that moral righteousness as well, sort of a lawful good. And then we have Jughead sitting on that spectrum and trying to figure out what part of that spectrum he sits on, and if he leans either way, and it's definitely a shade of his father. And if his father can end up influencing him towards either direction, that's yet to be said.
Do you want to get on to the postmortem of
Yeah, I have a
205, even though...
Yeah. When you first got this role, did you ever think you'd be filming a scene where a bunch of people are kicking the crap out of you?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. No, I mean, it's funny. When I first read the first couple episodes through this narrative arc, I was like, Jughead is such a pompous little kid, thinking he can go into a brand new school, do whatever the hell he wants, and then when someone tells him no, he goes, well, my dad is your leader. I think that kid deserves to get his butt kicked a little bit, I think. And I think Jughead needs to toughen up if he's going to survive whatever the hell is about to be thrown at him. And I think this is a really good way to not only build the camaraderie with the people who have been beaten up by the North Side, but to really toughen Jughead up simultaneously. I don't know, I thought it was awesome. I'm really glad it wasn't as cold filming that as it is right now. Yeah.
When Archie breaks up with Jughead for Betty, it seems like Jughead is kind of expecting it. Was that part of your performance?
Part of it, definitely. I mean, I think there's that one line in it too that he goes, "No, you guys haven't been good," and he's trying to lie to himself, and he goes like, "No, I saw her earlier, or I forget what it was." Mm-hmm. But he knows he's on the South Side now, and he knows he's been away from everyone. And I think also Jughead has absolutely no problem seeing himself as someone who could be easily thrown to the wayside. So I think something like that probably affects him a little bit. But he's also got his boys behind him, so it's not like he's going to be like, no! Which is, the way that scene was shot was kind of funny to me, watching it back. But it's, it's one of those interesting. I think Archie is also Jughead's weakness when it comes to Betty, because they were kind of the three amigos when they were young, but Betty had always favored Archie. And it's something that we'll definitely see prevalence later on in the season. And just how much of a friendship Betty and Jughead had, even though it was just the three of them when they were younger, or if Jughead felt more like a third wheel. So Archie coming to deliver the bad news is not only a slap from Betty, but really a slap from Archie too, which I think is something we explore a lot later.
Jughead's really involved with what's happening with the serpents and on the South Side, and Betty has the Black Hood that she's dealing with. Is there going to be some regret from him that he wasn't there for her through her issues?
I mean, not to spoil too much, but we do play with a bit of that this episode. I mean, but Jughead's narrative arc is really, much like the last season, is a slow burn. it's the first half of this season for Jughead is like establishing the world that is the South Side, with the inevitable kind of civil war between the North and the South, in which Jughead's narrative becomes a lot more prevalent. In the same way, first season he was kind of on the outskirts, and slowly but surely we learned more about him. So there's not really much Jughead can do. He's kind of stretched as thin as possible right now, not only trying to fight for the freedom of his father, trying to contain the serpent's inclination for violence, and also dealing with his own personal demons. And I think he'll end up regretting quite a bit that he wasn't around for Betty, but I also don't think Jughead thinks Betty can't take care of herself, which I think is an important. I don't think any of the 4 characters that are going through the troubles at any point have been like, "Whoa, is this kid in over his head?" I think they'll find the agency and they'll work it out and they'll move on.